Normally I'm late. Normally I'm fiddling around my phone. It's pretty good. Pretty good. So I'm letting some people get in here because, again, I'm about 8 minutes early. Oh, and I am tired. Whew, tired, bull. Whew. What up, Cool Engines, Austin, FJB, Ronald, Mama. Mom's in here, so I'm not so much of a loser. Or makes me more of a loser. Who knows? Joshua, you're making me blush. Day's been pretty good. I went to church this morning. Had to teach Sunday school. Then after that, took a nap in my chair. And then, what else? What else? What else? I did something for a while. Can't remember. Fought some bees. I think I did get stung on the old gut. And then I just got off the mower 10 minutes ago. Literally walked in. So, Steve from Steve the Canadian said, "Smash that like button, my dudes." Faux show. I think my phone. I'm hoping my phone don't go dead because it is charging currently. I listened to a lot of music today. We'll hook it up to a power bank instead of my USB hub to see if that charges it faster, which it should. Yeah, maybe that'll work a little better. But someone said, "Can I make a stock Ghost go 55 on a Megamoto 80?" Yep, you sure can. You just gotta have it geared correctly. How's everybody going? How's everybody's day going? Like I said, I went to church this morning, then came home, took a nap, dilly-dallied around the house. I didn't do a whole lot of much today, painted some parts that have to ship out tomorrow, and then I mowed about 3 or 4 acres, probably about 4 acres, and I like mowing at about 7 in the afternoon because she's been hot. So, but my son is playing the PlayStation with his friend right now. So I'm going to answer a couple questions. Someone asked how much a dyno fee to dyno an engine. It's 120 to just run the engine, no tuning, just literally take it out of the box, put oil in it, hook up fuel and stuff, and run it because it takes about an hour. It's 120 to 240 depending on what your engine setup is because we have to rate everything by an hour. So it's probably going to be closer to 200, which you might be able to find people to do it for cheaper. But you guys have seen all of our dyno videos, so you know our dyno is tuned in as accurate as we can get it. It's not inflated, so that's the big deal with our dyno. So it really doesn't matter who's dyno in these engines, even if they're inflated. It's just they have to have it inflated and show you what the engine made stock. And that was a big deal with our videos. We started with a stock engine and showed you that it made a little over 6.5 horsepower, and then started doing upgrades one at a time. So we proved to you guys that our dyno is tuned in, where someone else can say their dyno's this and that, but you're not going to know it until they put a stock 212 engine on it and see what it makes. There was some people saying that the Tillotson 212 made like 9 horsepower or something back in the day, and it actually made 7 horsepower. And that's because when they got their dyno, it's factory inflated like 40% or something like that. So that's why the numbers showed 9. So maybe they did think it was 9, but then I heard before we got our dyno about the whole inflation on dynos and in the small engine world, and it wasn't regulated like car dynos is. So that's why we knew to watch out for it, and we fixed it as soon as we got it. Yeah. But what we're going to start doing is selling a dyno run on our website, because the problem is we don't want a bunch of people sending us their engines. So what we're going to do is, let's say, put 5 on the website, like 5 in stock, so we can sell those 5 and basically not get overran with engine, because I don't want to sit here and be dynoing all day. I actually don't like the dyno engines. I don't like to set the engines up and junk. It's not hard, it's just annoying. But we do have the stage 4 240 coming. All we're waiting on is the cam. Then we have Lonnie's. If you guys remember, we had Lonnie's 225 engine. We talked about this in the last live stream, so sorry if you've already heard it. But Lonnie's his bike had a 225 Tillotson with a 265 cam, and had a ported head, or no, sorry, it had the billet head on it. And then we put start over. Lonnie's engine had the 225 Tillotson, had a 356 cam and 1.3 ratio rockers. Might have been 1.2s. I can't remember. And had that billet MoFlow head. And it made the most horsepower so far. We know we can make more horsepower on the dyno, but we're trying to make the dyno series go like this. Instead of just banging out the most horsepower engine we can build, we're trying to make it more entertaining and build that climactic, video series up. Because EC has everything that we could build, a mid to high 20s engine that would really make some crazy power. So what we did with Lonnie's engine is, if you remember a while back, I did a 225 and stroked it to a 236 Tillotson. We took that engine. It's got a big valve ported head on it, and we took the head off and we put Lonnie's billet head, and EC worked the head and made sure of what lift and how much CFMs it'll flow. Then they put us some 1.4 ratio rockers in it, and then they're going to send us a custom ground cam from Lonnie's engine, and we're going to make the most horsepower we have so far with Lonnie's engine. Then we're going to turn it over to methanol and run it on methanol. We've already got the methanol carb and everything. Yeah. That's what engines are coming up. Then we have another viewer's engine. 2 of them, actually. No, one of them. That I just figured the problem out. And it actually was a little tricky to figure it out, because the guy did a great job on the build. And there was one thing messed up, and it took a little bit of time to find it. And it was the simplest, cheapest part. If you can guess what that is. I'm not going to tell what it is. But that video will be coming out next week. Not this week, but next week. This week, we have where we take the governor off the 105cc and put a Mikuni carb on it. For tomorrow, and then Thursday we have another episode of Lonnie's Buggy. The next episode you guys see after this one will be Lonnie's Buggy, us driving it and seeing what it feels like with that engine and stuff. We've just been so busy with engine builds, it's so hard to balance everything, and making parts. We've been out of stock on parts. And then very soon, like when I say very soon, I mean this week, I think you'll start seeing billet rods and stuff on our website. So that's going to be huge. We're going to be selling a lot of EC parts on our website, which will be awesome for us, because if we can build that up to enough, then Lonnie can come around more. It's just right now there's, with me editing and stuff, it's very hard to manage everything, of course. Manage my own time, and let alone somebody else's time. And then, of course, to be able to afford to pay a full, like Lonnie wouldn't be full-time, because he has a certain job thing that he's got going on right now that he's excited about. But it means he can work about a half a day with me every single day, which would be pretty cool if I could keep that up. So, I'm going to answer some questions in a minute. So, or I guess I'll start answering some questions. So, Steve the Canadian said, is methanol as stinky as everyone says? I've never ran the stuff, but considering for the turbo build, I hear it's nasty though. I don't know. We've never ran methanol or alcohol or anything. Just never needed to, because we build a lot of off-road stuff. It ain't like we're building drag stuff where that's where you'd see that type of stuff. But we'll know soon. I'm gonna buy some. I don't know if I go with VP or something. I'm gonna buy a 5-gallon jug of it. Did we ever get to see the Harley buggy? It was pretty amazing. H2 swap, like Rather Be Welding would be amazing. So the Harley buggy is not ours. We built that for Quantum. It left for a year or two and was in their showroom and stuff. It was never supposed to run at the beginning. It was just supposed to be a chassis to put on a table at shows and take to trade shows, you know, to show what is built on their tables, because they have like a NASCAR chassis and stuff like that. Then it kind of escalated, and I was like, well, what if we put an engine in it? And so basically right now it's a roller with the engine. It needs a fuel tank and oil tank. It needs a shifter built, brake lines ran, and like light wiring and stuff. So why that has been on the back burner is because we have, it's supposed to come in hopefully in a month or two. I mean, I know I said that a couple months ago, but it's like, since it's a paid for job, I can't spend my own money on it because it's not my vehicle. You know, I can't spend any money, and I also need to be paid for our time, because if we work on it, of course, we don't get to work on our own stuff. So the problem is every time we try to sit down to talk about what's left of the bill and how much it's going to cost to finish the thing, we're both just too busy guys. So I'm hoping in about, hopefully this week, I get to get on the phone with him. We go over what he wants done and powder coat, because it still has to be, once it's done and we ride it, then it has to be sandblasted, powder coated, everything done. It's very hard to balance all these builds, and we have to have a lot of builds going on, because what you guys don't see is all the waiting for parts, or if I need to get something special made that I can't produce in our shop, that holds up time. When at the same time, I can't stop making content. We have to put out at least one video on YouTube a week, and then we have to put shorts out. We should be putting a short out every single day, but it's just extremely hard to manage all that. So that's, we're just juggling a lot of stuff. And then we sell stuff on our website. We have to keep that stuff in stock, and that's a constant thing, even though we don't even have that much parts. But because we're stocking them here and manufacturing some of them, then that means it just gets crazy at times. And then of course we take on people's builds every once in a while. Like we've done the Deuce. The Deuce is gone in Oregon. That buggy's completely gone. Someone said the road to horsepower being abandoned still makes me mad. What are you talking about? We've done like 6 videos in the last couple of months. The road to horsepower still goes on. So obviously you abandoned the channel, because we've literally put videos out all the time on it. Frustrates me when people say stuff like that. It's like, what are you talking about, abandoned? And then when people complain about us not finishing stuff, it's like, look how much stuff we have finished. I mean, there's countless vehicles we finished, and some of them are finished, in my opinion, because I'm not going to spend the time to paint something that I don't care about. Yamaha buggy is one of those. I don't care about that build at all. I would like to sell it like it is and get it out of here, because I don't like that dirt bike engine. I'm never going to like it. So there's no point in me putting money into it. And powder coat's about $1,000, and that's a good price for sandblast and powder coat. It's a really good price, actually. So I'm not going to put all this money into it just to give you guys the satisfaction of it being done. I know it seems harsh, and I don't mean it to seem harsh, but there's so much other stuff we could put our money into and get it done. So Shane said, had one last week, Leon. Leon just is slacking on the videos. But so, and when we work on dyno videos, normally we stop doing fabrication videos, because I'm not going to grind and cut a bunch of metal while I got an engine opened up on the bench. So you either get one or the other. We can't do both at the same time, because this is one big open garage. Are you needing me? Yeah. And someone was saying put an H2 motor on it. That's a ton of money to spend on an engine. And I'm not a huge, like, I know a motorcycle engine would be sick on a buggy, but if all these people that doubt our buggies with like built 670s and stuff, if they ever drove one of them, they would see really the thing to do is buy a big block Briggs V twin, because that engine stock makes the same horse as like a very well built 670 out of the box, governor. It makes that kind of power. And a big block Briggs V twin makes more torque than a 600 like crotch rocket engine. Now it wouldn't make as much as something like an H2, but an H2, that's a huge cost. Like, we have to look at our return on videos too. You know, we're not going viral every single video. You know, a channel that gets 1 million views per video can afford to dump more money in. And some of these channels you see building, like, I know what they're making on their videos because I know what we make on our videos. And if you're not, let's say we do 10 videos on a buggy and that buggy costs $10,000, that means we bare minimum have to make 10 grand off those 10 videos in views or sponsorship deals just to break even. And that's not counting make it even more money, you know what I mean, to live on, because crap, you guys know how expensive stuff is. But yeah, so it's pretty crazy seeing people dump a lot of money into these buggies and thinking, are they even making their money back on these buggies? Sometimes I see channels building stuff, not when you're at the Excalibur of like Grindhard and stuff. They're doing good as long as they're working their sponsorships right and stuff. But it's all and there's not like with this now. I know a lot of people, you know, with like junkyard digs and which I don't talk to any of these people a lot because I let people have their, you know, I don't want to bug people. But like Cars and Cameras, Junkyard Digs, I know all these other channels that are successful, and Bikes and Beards. And so now we have people we can talk to about, you know, ideas and stuff for our channels. But back in the day, you're just trying to figure it out because there's nothing out there about it. Someone's asked me to do a 713 governor delete video. We don't have any Duramax 713s. It was not a good engine. That's why we never did anything with them. Just like the 459 Predator is not a great engine. I mean, it's good for what it is, but to build it further, we've talked about this 100 times. The 999 Duramax, that's why we stopped doing anything to it, because there's no company supporting that engine. So I would rather spend our time doing stuff on engines that are supported. So but yeah, so 713 governor delete will probably not happen because it's not going to make, the only thing a governor delete normally gets you is more miles per hour. It doesn't make you more horsepower normally with the stock cam and stuff. And they're basically the valve train is really poor designed in the 713. It's a 2-lobe cam on a V-twin, where like a Predator is a 4-lobe cam. So yeah, I think Bean is answering the guy's question. He says, why does his valves get loose, I think, after he runs his engine? One, you could not be getting it tight enough, but metal expands and contracts as it heats up. So you will get, your valves can get tighter as it gets hotter, but they're only going to stretch so much. You know, the metal's only going to expand so much, but you may be not setting them good enough. That's what I would say. I appreciate it, Isaac. I really do. But yeah, I don't mean to come on here and be like, you idiots. I'm just trying to explain what goes on behind the scenes, basically. Someone said, what's better, Milwaukee or DeWalt? If I was buying something in that caliber of tools, Milwaukee for sure. I don't like DeWalt, never have. I felt like their tools wasn't always that great for the price point. Milwaukee now, I will tell you, I went a while back to look at Milwaukee batteries, and I spent thousands of dollars on Milwaukee tools around the COVID time. And because they had a lot of deals back then, like buy this battery kit, get a free tool. So that's how I got most of my tools. So basically now the cost of one good Milwaukee, like 5 amp hour battery, you can buy a drill and a bit driver in the Hercules. And is the Hercules as good? I think it's as good, not better than a Milwaukee for sure. But if a Milwaukee is a 10, then a Hercules a close 9, in my opinion, in most tools, not their impacts. Milwaukee will spank a Hercules any day. But a Hercules isn't a bad impact. I just don't like how lazy it runs. It's just a slower working impact. It isn't like fast and aggressive like a Milwaukee. But for sure, you know, I really like the Hercules stuff for the price point. And that's why we're still working with Prime Welders. Prime Welders is one of the most affordable welders you can get. And I've been contacted by Miller and Lincoln, and I turned down the deals. Didn't even like give them the time of day because I'm so appreciative of how Prime runs his business, how his warranties work, The man supports his welders, and we have beat on those machines like crazy and never had a single problem out of it. I'm really happy with Prime Welds, and I hope to be using them for the rest of our YouTube career, as long as he don't sell his company. Someone said, Steve the Canadian said again, I think at this point you're considered among the list, i.e. the successful channels, and I appreciate that. We're almost to 500,000 subscribers. Let's see where we're at. 448. So we're almost to 500,000. So I might have said bit drive earlier, but the impact is what I was talking about. I don't know what I said earlier. But yeah, so in the impact, it's basically Milwaukee's the best impact, but it's just their battery cost just kills me. I got 2 or 3 batteries that are failing. I've had for 5-6 years. I was like, I am not paying that. I'll sell my Milwaukee tools before I'll pay that price for batteries. It's absurd. There's no way that that it's worth that kind of money. So someone's saying, you're nuts, man. Lincoln or a Miller, dude, a welder cover for a Miller is $400. I don't know what he's like. I don't know if he's saying I should have got a Lincoln or a Miller, but I'm not sure what he meant. So yeah, I do like the Hercules stuff quite a bit. Most of it, good 80% of it is great. Oh, someone's saying their kid's Hammerhead, which is a 150 style go-kart, should be anyways, every 500 miles got to adjust valve. That's kind of normal. 500 miles is a lot of miles on a go-kart engine. I hope you're doing plenty of oil changes on that thing. Colt Small Engine Repair, we appreciate your donation. He said, I have a question for a mini bike. Please, I need help. The clutch burnout on my 212 mini bike, and it's a 3/4 inch bore is a little too small. Can you tell me what's going on? And a 3/4 inch bore is too small. I wonder if your engine, for some reason, I wouldn't think. I've never seen one of these engines with a metric crankshaft. But also make sure the key isn't burred or something on the new clutch. I'm assuming you're trying to put a new clutch on it. But yeah. Appalachian wrench. Got him. Nah. But yeah, I would just make sure the key's right, and also maybe try another clutch, because these are Chinese parts, let's face it. But I've never seen one of these small engines have a metric crank other than like the diesel engine, little 6.5 horse diesel engine. So someone said, is a genuine Comet 780 worth the price over an Amazon clone? I will tell you this. So back in the day, when we worked with certain companies, they led us on to believe that their 30 series was better than every other 30 series. And we have no reason to doubt that at the time. Now, it's like they're all the same. So, but a 780, I will tell you, when I was doing spring replacements on a knockoff 780 versus a Comet 780, the aluminum is way weaker in the Chinese Comet. If I was spending the money for a 780, I would pay the money to get a true 780. Sometimes we do run Chinese ones, because you got to think of how many we would have to buy and stuff, to keep them going. So sometimes if we're in a pickle or something and need to get one really fast, we might order one on Amazon. But if I was spending the money and I've already put all this money into a buggy, I would definitely pay for a Comet pulley. I do think they're made better. They are made right here in America. They're not a Chinese part. I've been in their factory. I've talked to the people. And I would pay the little extra money. And Comet is a supporter of the channel now. We talk with the vice president all the time. He'll answer our calls anytime, which is awesome. And we got some cool stuff coming out in conjunction with Comet and Small Engine Warehouse. So we're really excited about that. Best any mini bike engine. Well, if we're talking small blocks, I've preached this in the last little while. The best engine in small block on the market is the Wildcat 240. It's just the best dollar per horsepower. You can't beat it in dollar per horsepower. If you can, I want to see a full breakdown of how you can and the horsepower it made, because we've proved it on our dyno series. It is a extremely good engine, and I know it's costly to get into it, but you're getting an out of the box like 14 horsepower engine, and then, I mean, you just can't beat the price of it, and it's a great engine. Have you lost in compression after installing a Tilley 212E Hemi Stage 2 cruiser kit? I don't know. We don't mess with the cruiser kits and stuff. That company's kits, we don't mess with them anymore. So Texas Mini Bike said he has a Ducar 212. He changed to a 265 cam and 26-pound valve springs with the original head. Does he need to change push rods? No, you shouldn't have to. The only time you need to change your push rods is if you're running a different set of rockers in stock, or a different set of valves that maybe got a different install height, and if you mill your head. It's the only time you need to change your push rods. So you should be pretty good. Yeah, Appalachian Wrench talking about EC has a ton of write-ups on their website. You can go to their blog, and the man puts some time into writing about history or proof of something. And he normally, after we do a dyno video, he writes a blog about it, so you can go read it. And he's super detailed and thorough with them. Mark's a good guy there. I like him quite a bit. You should do a Baja Warrior build. We actually have a Baja Warrior outside that's supposed to get round robin into the garage. So what's coming out soon? Like I was telling you guys that tomorrow we have another video on that 105, and I know it's probably not the most exciting stuff, but we're building to the exciting stuff. You know, we have to get content where we can get content, obviously. So we're doing these short videos on it, or not short, but these easier installing parts, and then the ultimate Amazon build just because it's like easy to do. And then we're about to build it into a drag bike. So tomorrow is where we remove the governor on the 105cc Amazon bike and put a Mikuni carb kit on it. And then Thursday we got Lonnie's buggy coming out. The Monday after we have another video where most likely I think it's going to be the 105 where we put a 212 on it and extend it 8 inches. And that'll kind of start the whole thing on the drag bike build. And we do have some more Amazon parts coming, you know, the knockoff parts. I'm going to keep showing those. And so, yeah, someone's asking if a Nibby is a good carb. They're pretty decent carbs. A Nibby Amazon carb is pretty decent. I mean, you really can't complain with the price that they are. They're really cheap. And the reason that you're getting the Nibby stuff and those carbs like that so cheap on Amazon, it's China selling them directly on Amazon. So it's not a dealer buying them. It's either they have a facility here where they keep stock, but because I have resources where I can buy stuff from China, you know, in bulk, and you cannot, like, they're making $5–10 on those Nibby carbs. And for an American to order those and get them in and try to sell them, it's not worth your time. To sell them that cheap. And the reason like EC sells PZ carbs and stuff that are modified, why they're worth more is because they're blueprinting them. They're not just out of the box carbs from China. They're actually changing things about them and making their own carb out of them. And blueprinting don't mean changing jets and stuff. That's what most companies do. They'll buy a bunch of, they'll buy 1,000 carbs with their particular jet sizes in them, and they'll call them a tuned carburetor. But that's not how you tune a carburetor. And EC will be on the channel. Mark, I'm sure, will be on the channel soon, and he's going to really talk about the in-depths on carbs, because a lot that they know. And that'll be a good episode, I think, really breaking down carburetors and how they work and everything about them. What's my thoughts on the 94C versus 780? Pulley for high revving methanol 500cc. I have one with a 44 and it's slipping like crazy. So the problem with like a 780, if you're revving it high, you need to go lighter weights and harder springs. You need to make it engage higher, because if you left it at stock engagement, all that centrifugal force happening, because those weights are going to be extended all the way out, you're going to end up breaking stuff, because they're not made for 8,000–9,000 RPM pulleys. The 94C, I honestly couldn't tell you because I don't think we ran that pulley. But it depends on what your horsepower is. You might be 500cc. I'm assuming that's like a big block buildup. So that is probably at its limit of what a 780 can do for you. But as long as you weight it and stuff, then it's going to hold up pretty good. Eric, howdy, partner. So someone said people just follow like Elon talking about rockets. Yeah, you hear him talking about stuff. You're like, what are you talking about, dude? Any mud motors coming? Yes, we got that big block kit we put together a couple years ago, and it's been sitting outside under a tarp. And I'm trying my best to pull that boat in here soon. And I got to build a new transom on it, mount the seats, and slap that engine on it. Then we're going to take it out, rip on it a little bit, maybe do a few like mods to it, and then just me and Lonnie will take it out and do fishing and riding videos. And then maybe after that, we may do a V-twin kit. That's what we'd like to do. Oh, freak. Brandon's in the house. James Davis Brandon. Brother Brandon. I always call him brother because me and him was at some old guy's house one day, and we walked up. This is, up in the mountains. And this guy said, is this your brother? And then ever since then, we call each other brothers. So T-Man saying we should build a big nasty. I think I know what he's talking about. It's Googling big nasty. Yeah, I have wanted to build one of those. I think they're pretty sick. I'm assuming, are they selling them? Or is it just a website showing them off? Maybe. Yeah, he's not actually selling them, I don't think. Oh, yeah, he is. Okay. Big Nasty bike chassis kit is $1,200, and the bike is $2,200. It's a pretty good price on that thing. I'd probably build one before I'd buy one, but I wonder how they ride, because that's a huge, it's like the old, what was they called? The Yamaha big wheeled bikes. I can't remember. We had one forever, and then we sold it. I can't remember. I can't remember what the Yamaha is called. If anybody remembers, the big wheeled Yamaha, like 200cc bike. So someone says my mini bike's knocking. Could it be the clutch? I don't know. Where's the sound coming from? I don't know if it's your head or your clutch. That's hard to answer with just that. I'd have to almost hear it. Yeah, like a Fat Cat, I think. Let me see. We got a freaking computer in front of our face. Fat Cat bike. Yes, so the Fat Cat was the Yamaha. TR200 was one of them. That's what I was trying to think of as an actual name, but they made a 650 Fat Cat. Good night. I'd hate to ride that thing. Like at high speeds. It was 650 cc's. Had to be a custom hog. No, maybe. Yeah, they made a 650 Fat Cat BW 200. That's what I was thinking of. I had the BW Yamaha 200. Didn't have an engine on it. And I ended up selling it just because it sat outside forever. And, now here we are. But I have an idea for an off-road mini bike I want to build. They'll be pretty sweet. So someone said he set on one at Mini Mayhem, the Big Nasty, and he said it rides really nice. So might have to try it out. Yeah, Brandon, we had Dad got us that fat wheeled 80. And that was the first bike I ever rode, and I whiskey throttled into that massive sawdust pile that Gene had. And I was scared of it when I get back on it. That's why when Aubrey whiskey throttled one of those little 105cc bikes, she didn't want to ride it back to the house, and I made her because I didn't want her to be scared of it forever. So, but yeah, it was, I just whiskey throttled right into it. I mean, it probably wouldn't. That's probably just in first gear, I'd imagine, so I probably wouldn't even go that fast. But there's one Fat Cat 650. It's called, that was built by Classified Moto, and that's a sick bike. I like it a lot. It's like a cafe racer off-road looking bike, like a mix between them. Someone said build a steam power 212. You're trying to make us go back in horsepower, not forward. Someone said, what's your thoughts on a Predator 212 Hemi? Billet flywheel, billet rod, 40-pound springs, 308 cam, exhaust and muffler, Mikuni carb, and Champion rockers. Is that a good build? That would do pretty decent. You can kind of look on the road to horsepower and find something similar, and that's probably what it would make. You know, that's a good way to judge the horsepower. But I think that would do pretty good. 308 cam's a good cam. It's really made for high RPM, so if you're like off-road riding, you would get more out of 265 because you're not way up in the RPMs. But so someone said their mini bike's knocking too. Whenever they tighten the chain, it stops. It was after he upgraded it. I wonder if that particular one is the chain's like smacking a part of the frame when it's loose. Maybe. We have a mini bike that does that, and it does sound almost like a knock or something. Yeah, Isaac said you have to whiskey throttle sometime at some point. Something at some point. Yeah, you do. Everybody needs a good whiskey throttle. Grayson whiskey throttled his little four-wheeler. I think everybody does. Someone said move the meet up closer to Texas. That would be pretty sweet to have one in Texas. Becca likes Texas quite a bit. Would a flat top piston make it better? A Hemi Predator, you said Hemi, right? Yeah, Hemi already has a flat top in it, so you wouldn't have to mess with the piston. Unless you want a better piston, but one in it's pretty dang good. Beginner upgrades for a 212 is flywheel rod, and the thing you should start out with is a Mikuni, removing the governor, flywheel rod, valve springs. That's going to get you to the meat and taters of the engine, and after that, everything else is pretty much straightforward. You know, certain cams you got to do clearance and stuff, but we've covered all that. Red Line Madman, let us know. I'd like to know. We're tuning some 780s right now, so and maybe we'll get 94s also. Someone said, why is there Predator 212 out on really high? It could be your throttle cable's like not adjusted loose enough, so it's holding it cracked open. Adjust your idle. That could be one thing, or you could have a small intake leak or something. You know, if you get an intake leak, it'll cause a vacuum leak, which will cause your engine to rev up. So you should make a GTS. You should build a GTS. I have one there, good little race box. I've seen them before. GTS. It's been a while. GTS mini bike. Oh yeah, studs. Studsy boys. I mean, I would build something like it. I wouldn't spend the money on a bike like that because they're so easy to build. You know, for our tools. I mean, I know a lot of people don't have a tubing bender and stuff. But, I mean, to me, that's why we got the 105cc. This GTS 6-inch frame is $400, where you can buy that 105 bike running for $400 if you find it on sale. And to me, that's a pretty dang good price. And then modify it. You know, where this one has like welded handlebars. The 105 has bolt-on like handlebars with risers, so you can put whatever handlebars you want on it. And there's just more stuff you can do to them, in my opinion, for cheaper. So yeah. So we also are we're doing a parts list right now with Pat Toblinsky. If you guys know who that is, he does Power Nation. He's the engine builder on Power Nation. I was texting him back and forth today, and he's going to make me a pretty cool build list of what he thinks, because he dynos a lot of V8s. So he's getting me a list, and we're going to build over the winter time, build the 79 F100s 351 modified, which is a big block. We're going to build it into a 400, and we're doing aluminum heads, a Holley EFI. We're doing a cam, a good set of rockers and valve springs. Of course, the valve springs and stuff will come with the heads. But a good set of pistons and rods and stuff, and we're going to do a blow-through turbo setup with a 76 millimeter turbo, 3-inch intercooler piping, and a big front mount intercooler, and it's going to be pretty sick. So that's going to get built over the winter time, and I'm going to film it all, and then hopefully next summer we're driving the 79 boosted, and that's going to be sick. Right now it's got some head problems, like some valve problems. So instead of rebuilding it stock and wasting all that time, I'm just going to pull the engine transmission. I got a transmission guy that's going to rebuild the transmission for me, and then we'll work that out. Someone's asking about the turbo setup, if we're going to do a blow-through on that small engine. Possibly, but the problem that you run into with blow-through on those carbs is they don't like fuel pressure, even with, like, they like very light fuel pressure, and you have to make the fuel pressure go up as the boost goes up. It's going to be trial and error. Yes, we're going to try to run a blow-through, but it complicates it. And so I've talked to a guy that's really known in the turbo industry, and he basically said the best thing to do with that 212 is just run draw-through, try to make it work the best we can. But he said what will spoil a turbo is a big block. So we've got a supercharger right now on Gravy Bones that you guys will see in the next couple weeks. And then after that, we're going to put a 212 on, all right, not 212, a turbo kit on that built at stage 4 420 that's on Gravy Bones, and see the difference between turbo and supercharger, and whichever one feels better and sounds better, and you know, everything we're going to keep on Gravy Bones. And then we got a supercharger to put on 212 as well. So yes, we will do a blow-through setup possibly later, but he told us not to, and this guy's extremely experienced in turbos, and he said not to mess with blow-through. That which, just like I said at the start of the series, that we're never going to really make a lot of boost or anything, or it's not going to be really that great to basically go as far as we have and tune it a little bit, and then, you know, see what happens after that. Okay. So, would adding a hot 265 on a Predator make it faster with other internal upgrades like flywheel and flat top piston, 22-pound springs, and billet connecting rod? So when you're saying faster, what do you mean by faster? Are you meaning more top speed? Because this is the thing, we talk about this all the time. We try to beat it in people's heads. What makes mile an hour is tire size and RPM. That's the only thing that makes miles per hour. So if you want to run 100 miles per hour, it don't matter how much horsepower. It does matter how much horsepower you have, because on a stock 212, to get to 100 mile an hour, you need so much horsepower to propel you up to that. Just because the math on your gearing says, like the calculator says, you'll do 100, doesn't mean you're going to actually go out there and do 100. Because does your engine make enough horsepower to get you, with the weight that it's pulling and the drivetrain and everything, will it actually get you up to 100 mile an hour? You know, so basically, if you change your gearing, and your tire size matters as well, that's what predicts miles per hour. Horsepower just means, can you actually get to that miles per hour, and how fast will you get to that miles per hour is what it means. So a 265 cam will make better horsepower, of course, and let you rev a little further. You know, it's got a better profile than the stock cam, and it has more overlap and all this stuff. So yes, it can help you gain more top speed, because it's going to let the engine rev even further than the stock cam. So when's the drag build on the Oryx Earth happening? We're starting it this week, and it'll be the 212. We're not, the stock 105s are not worth modifying. Like, if you like the video that comes out tomorrow, that's the most I would do to that engine. A stage 2 goes 60 mile an hour. You could, but it's going to struggle to get up there unless it's a very light mini bike. Like an off-road mini bike with 19-inch tires and stuff, you're going to have to gear it at like a 6-to-1 ratio, which is what we geared at. But it's depending on your weight and stuff, it might take a little bit to get up there. But our bikes top out about 65 because of the way we got them geared. I mean, if you stretched them out on a real big stretch of road, you'd probably hit 70 or a little over, but we're not trying to rev the guts out of our engine either. but we can hit 60, 65 pretty easy, but we're pushing 19 horsepower on most of our stuff. Whenever you're doing a road to horsepower for the Predator 224, we kind of did and didn't. So when we did the 224, we didn't have the dyno, but we later rebuilt the 224 and dynoed it before and after because we had a crack in our block. And then I'm about to rebuild it again and dyno it again. The new 224s are mud engines, nothing fits them. So you have to find one of the old 224s if you're going to build it. So we may do that just because people want to see that particular engine, but I've never used the 310 cam. Someone's asking 310 versus 308. It's probably marginal differences, most likely, unless they got like a totally different profile. But they're probably pretty close, honestly. And we haven't used the 310, so I really can't say. What tires will hold up to street use without wearing on the sides really fast? I would just look for one that's actually rated for the road. I can't remember what tire ratings are, but I would just Google what the tire's rated for and stuff, the rating on the tire, and do it that way. It'll kind of tell you. I like mufflers. I do not like straight pipes for back pressure. It's not about back pressure. I just like the way it sounds having like the motorcycle style mufflers we run. How exactly does a Positrack rear end work in a Plymouth? It just does. How's the Sunset made? What does it say? How's the Sunset made? How's a Positrack work? There's one more. How's the Sunset made? There's one more and I can't think of it. It just does. And it's like every one of them had a explanation of how it actually works. Cody, we have thought about using EFI, but it complicates them so much, and it's not like you're going to gain this massive amount of horsepower out of it. I feel like people should leave EFI alone on these small engines because they're getting so much junk that, I mean, would it be cool if there's a simple kit out there, like a Holley EFI for a 212? That'd be great. And Roland Wrench has talked about possibly making one once he gets caught up on his GY6 stuff, but I think people would buy it for sure, and I think it'd be cool. We'd run one on the dyno. But I don't think it's, like, I'd rather put my money into other parts, just like this turbo kit. Will it look cool and stuff? Sure. I can hear it spooling in the garage. You can't hear it on camera, but I can hear the hiss from the turbo, and we're making 7 pounds of boost on it. But is it practical? No, because I can spank that engine any day naturally aspirated. For sure. Lewis said he built his 224 based on my tutorial not too long ago, and it was amazing. He's not going to lie. That 224 is a little hoss. I tell you, it's one of our best engines. I like it a lot, for sure. Landon, you just got to watch the road to horsepower. It's all in the road to horsepower. Player. On the turbocharge. Oh, someone's saying put an expansion tank. So that's one way to help, but the better way is to get a custom ground cam. The reason you need that is because these cams aren't made for a turbo. So it has overlap, meaning the exhaust valve and intake valve is going to be open. You know, they're crossing a little bit, and it's going to have both valves open for a very slight amount of time. And why you want that in a naturally aspirated is to help, it's going to cause a vacuum in the head and suck that next charge of fuel in, and air-fuel ratio. But with boost, you don't want that because you're blowing raw fuel out the exhaust, or the back pressure from the exhaust is going to blow out the carb. So if you notice when we dyno that turbo 212, you see the mist coming out the carb. That's what that is. That's the pulsing that's happened. So what people's done is build a expansion chamber before the head, but after the turbo. And you also have to worry about pulling. You don't want your fuel pulling inside of it, so you have to have it all upstream and flowing correctly. But it's just a chamber to help that pulse not blow through your pipes and out your carb. I do think it would help some, and that will be the next phase on that kit. Once we're going to put a bigger carb on it too, because from everything I read, they say like back in the day, if you was running a V8, a 350 Chevy with a 650 carb on it, and you do a draw through, you should bump up to like a 750 because it's sucking so much more air and stuff through it. You need to upgrade because that's going to be your limiting factor. You know, your bottleneck is going to be your carb. So we're going to put a 28 millimeter carb on it next to see what that does. You know, see if we gain a good amount of horsepower from that. And we got a big valve head. We're running pretty small valves in that head. The only thing that sucks is I don't want to take the turbo kit off and dyno it naturally aspirate again because it's so much work. Like, people don't see all the work that goes to make a freaking 1 minute short, but that would be the right thing to do. So maybe once it's done, we'll take the turbo kit off and then run it when we're done and see what happens. Put the carb before the turbo. That's the way we have it right now, a draw-through setup. That's what we're saying. Even with the draw-through setup, if you watch the video, when it gets in higher RPMs, it's blowing a mist out the front, and that's from that overlap with the valves. But EC, they're behind right now, but they're trying to make me a custom turbo cam. And one thing they want me to try too is pull the billet flywheel off and put the cast aluminum flywheel because it has less timing, and we're going to need less timing with the turbo kit. So we're going to try that and see if that changes next. So the flywheel will be next, then we'll put a carb on it, and then we'll put a head on it, then we'll do the expansion chamber, and then we'll move on to trying something else after that. So yeah, we're gonna try just all types of things because we can't just go to what one person says works, because we need to try everything and prove it on the dyno so we know what actually works and what is, again, I don't think it's worth people wasting their time on unless you just want to do it for the pure fun of it. But you're going to make more horsepower, you know, just putting parts on it and learning how to really, you know, get a good cam and carb combo and head and stuff. Yeah. What's the best grease for mini bike chains? Blaster Power just came out with chain cleaner and chain lubricant. The cleaner kind of dissolves the grease and dirt out of it, and then the lubricant, I would highly recommend trying it. It's really good. How can you make my 224 have crazy chop? Well, the problem is to get a lope in your cam, like a big dirty lope, because we actually have a cam possibly coming out in the second half of this year soon that has a lot of chop to it, but it's not going to particularly be the best performance cam. You know, just because it has chop don't mean it's a big, mean, dirty cam. In the small block go-kart world, it's hard to get a lot of chop and still have a performance cam. We've been talking to EC about that. Yeah, Steve the Canadian, we're gonna try everything on it. It just takes time. That's why, like, next we're gonna try the flywheel. We'll do the flywheel tomorrow and post it on Tuesday, because tomorrow's short will be about this little bike. But yeah, we've done this for 53 minutes and I'm pretty tired. I got a weed eat tomorrow. That's gonna suck. I got a weed eat for like 3, maybe 4 hours. It's gonna be real cool. I'm a big boy. I'm gonna be out there sweating. So someone said, Lewis said, what are our plans on the V-twin in the future? We have a 23 horse Briggs. We're waiting on the heads to get back from porting and getting valves put in them and stuff. It'll be a fully built, we have built flywheel rods, cam, heads, ratio rockers. It's going to be a dirty little engine to go on the Roketa buggy. Then we're going to build Lonnie's, everything. We got cam, head. We're building a stroker, a big bore. I think it's a big bore stroker 670. It's going to be over 800 cc's. That's going to be sick. So we have a lot of V-twin stuff coming out, or in the works. I shouldn't say coming out, because but Lonnie's buggy will be out Thursday. So you can see it's an old video that happened before the meetup, and then the next video you see in a week or so will be us actually driving it. Should that work with the turbo setup, or do you think it have the same effect as the 224? I am not sure what you're talking about, guy. Why did you step away from the Duramax 440? Good question. So we worked with Duramax for years. We was actually like in contract with them and stuff. We could use other engines. That's why when we use Duramax, we still use Predator, because we made one contract mistake, And that one contract mistake kind of kept us from working with other companies, and we don't want to do that. Like, we work with EC because we love working with EC. We love the people there, and we love what they stand for and the products they make. That's as true as it'll be. So basically, when we was working with Duramax, we love their 440s. I've even heard that some of their 440s have built or stock rods have insert rod bearings. I never got one of those engines, but people has reported to me about that. But the biggest problem with Duramax is every year, sometimes twice a year, they change the manufacturer of their engine. Like now they have the 439, or I don't even know what they have now, but they constantly changed it, and we couldn't keep up. And so the problem is, I'm telling you guys all these parts work, and you're spending your hard-earned money on these parts, and what if they change the engine and it don't work? So I'm constantly having to take engines apart to find out if their parts work still, and they constantly change it. That's why Vegas Karts quit using Duramax engines, was the same reason, and they warned me of that. Duramax was a good company to work with, but because they're always price hunting, that's the problem with it. That's why we don't use Duramax no more. My brother said he wants to see some NOS on the dyno and push them. I want to blow an engine up with some nitrous, like keep running it until it can't handle anymore on a dry, just dry shot, and then do a wet shot after that. But I want to buy an actual nitrous kit and not run those Amazon bottles, because they're just not, I mean, it's such a pain. So I have priced out, what was a nitrous kit? Let's Google a nitrous kit. Nitrous kit. Okay. $500 is what it's going to cost for a nitrous kit, because I need a dry kit and a wet kit. So, yeah, I need to get that soon for sure. Is this a wet kit? Okay, there's a wet kit for $533, and there is a so if anybody has a good deal on a nitrous kit, I'll trade you a build engine for a nitrous kit. But yeah, wet shot will be it'll be easy to do the dry shot. Tried to find, there's a motorcycle nitrous kit, 2-pound bottle for $399. I need to find a used kit, is what I need to do. Search for how you fix the timing belt on the MB200 and can't find it. I'm guessing something is bent. There's no timing belt on it. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. But yeah, we'll do a nitrous kit. I just need to spend $500 on nitrous kit, and that sucks. Brady, you got a freaking nitrous kit. Let me buy your nitrous kit. Hook me up on a deal, dude. So I got to freaking spend money to blow engines up. So, okay. But I think that's about it. Been on here for an hour, and I'm tired. I didn't get much sleep last night. I think I went to church on like 4 hours sleep. Luckily, the Lord's with me. But we're going to, we'll do another live stream next Sunday. We'll do some more dyno videos on the turbo engine this week. We'll do the flywheel swap to retard the timing. Try that. We'll try, yeah, I see the motorcycle kit, 400 bone skis on here. But motorcycle nitrous kit. But so yeah, we'll try the flywheel this week on the turbo kit. We'll try a bigger carb. Then we'll swap out the head next week, and after that we'll build that expansion chamber. All right, my brother screwed me. He put it on a Mustang, so he don't even care about us. But appreciate everybody hanging out with us. I'm gonna go sit and be a lazy slob. Brandon, I'll buy one soon, and we'll blow some engines up. We'll run a stock engine first, and then we'll build a built engine. See how much you can take. We'll just keep on pumping her to it. I mean, 10 horsepower shot be pretty sick. That's like a 200 shot on a 400 horse motor, so that'd be the same equivalent. But all right, but thank you guys for hanging out with us. We really appreciate you spending your Sunday with us, and we love you and hope you have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one. we got a lot of stuff coming out this week. Stay tuned. Love you guys, and God bless.